We're now live on Facebook and YouTube. If you're just joining us, welcome aboard. Morning, Manfred, Larry Cohen. Thank you for joining. Morning, Lionel. Hi, me and Linda. Morning. Morning, Shirley Feldman. Thank you for joining. Felicia Jenks, good. Hilton Sawitsky, thank you. And any one of you are coming on in YouTube, just let us know you're with us on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Shelley Smith, thank you. Morning on YouTube. So our YouTubers are logging on now, which is great. Facebookers, good to see you all once again for a bright morning, Monday morning. Arlene Yudolovitz, good morning. Dave Ginsberg, Boker Tov. Raylene Braz, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Fantastic. Hilly Lipworth, good morning. So we're getting some good traffic on YouTube and fantastic participation on Facebook. So good to see you all. If you're just joining us now, let us know you're with us. We've got a great crowd here this morning. So stick around. We've got a great topic of discussion today. Good morning, Arlene. We've got a great topic of discussion for today. And I would love to include you and discuss with you and debate with you. Thanks, Norman Stain. Welcome back. We missed you yesterday. And Jaime and Linda, we missed you yesterday. Boker Tov to one and all on a bright, sunny Monday morning. Some light and shine. Please God that continues in our lives. Good morning, Brian and Helen Feinstein. Boker Tov, thank you. If you're just joining us on YouTube, let us know you're with us. Facebook, thank you, Shalom Trieger, for joining this morning. And Michael Stain. Our numbers are going up on Facebook, that's for sure. YouTube is also. So if you're just joining us, let us know you're with us. Okay, we're just going to give it another minute or so before we kick off for today. I hope you're all keeping well, keeping strong, keeping positive. That's the message for today. Keep strong and positive. Wonderful to see you all here. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is share this video. Just press share under your screens on Facebook. It's easier than YouTube, but just press share under your screen to all your participants and let everyone see what you're up to. Just while we wait for everyone to log on properly. Hi, Manfred. Right. Welcome one and all for another session of daily learning and lockdown inspiration. I hope you're all keeping well and healthy. We're going to continue our theme that we started yesterday. which was the theme of Lag BaOmer, and we focused on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is the icon, the holy rabbi that we focus on Lag BaOmer. And I'd like to continue some of our discussions and points of discussions. If you have any comments as we go along, we'd love to hear from you. As we know, tonight is the celebration of Lag BaOmer. It's the 18th of Iyar, which is Chai Iyar. It's an exciting time on the Jewish calendar. It's a festival and a time of celebration for one and all. So let's get involved. Let's understand. Let's discuss what the day represents. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai represents. You may recall yesterday I mentioned and we compared Moshe Rabbeinu to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, two great leaders of the Jewish people, two people who opened up the heavens and connected heavens to earth. Moshe Rabbeinu focused on bringing down the heavens to earth. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's focus was elevating earth to heaven, giving us a new sense of reality, giving us an opportunity to experience another world within our world. That was the power of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Day Block, thank you for joining. Thank you very much. Perhaps I can suggest and say that it's interesting that both Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had to run away. Moshe Rabbeinu had to run away from Pharaoh and the Egyptians who were looking to kill him. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai ran away from the Romans after the destruction of the Second Temple. Morning, Philip Gordon on YouTube. Thank you for joining. And that's a major difference. Moshe Rabbeinu, where did he run away to? Moshe Rabbeinu ran away to Midian, right? A neighboring country. That's where he met Zipporah, his wife, daughter of Jethro, of Yisro. Moshe Rabbeinu was a man of the earth. And so when it came to running away, he ran away to a country, find another job, find another life, find another people, society around you. Morning. Shimon Bar Yochai was living on a different level. He ran into a cave and he hid in a cave with no one around him. 12 years living in a cave on his own, because Shimon Bar Yochai was about bringing down heaven into earth. And he was able to live in a cave by divine inspiration, somehow, drinking water from a river, eating carobs off the carob tree, all alone, on his own, because somehow he lived another life within this world. He was able to live Gan Eden, Olam Haba, heaven, while living in this world. And so today, I wanted to talk more about this approach of Shimon Bar Yochai, because this approach is a powerful one, and it's an approach that we could all internalize into our own personal levels, our personal lives. So some quotes I want to share with you. Some quotes I want to share with you about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which I think is very, very relevant to today. There's a famous statement regarding excuse that call coming through. There's a famous statement that is said about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's brought down from the great students of Rabbi Shlomo Zalman of Liadi, that in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's world, and great neshamas like his, they said, Lo nechrav habayis klal. The temple wasn't destroyed at all. Now let's understand this terminology here. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived in just after the Second Temple was destroyed by the Romans. He himself had to run away from the Romans, and he hid in a cave, as we said a little earlier. And here we're saying about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that in his life, in his world, Lo nechrav habayis klal, the Beis HaMikdash wasn't destroyed. Now let's understand that phrase. What does that phrase mean? Surely the temple was destroyed. There were no walls and no structure of the Beis HaMikdash of the temple after the Romans had destroyed it. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when he walked past Har Habayit, Temple Mount, he didn't see a Beit HaMikdash. He didn't see a temple. So what does it mean that in his world, in his life, the Necharav Habayis Klal, the Beis HaMikdash wasn't destroyed? Surely it was. Morning, Tracy Mindel. So we have to understand and appreciate that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was able to see the depths of the world. He was able to live a spiritual world, a spiritual life, even while living in this physical world. For Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Beit HaMikdash didn't just represent a structure of brick and stone. That wasn't just the Beit HaMikdash in his world. In our world, that's what it is. In our world, the shul is made from brick and stone, from cement and stone. In Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's world, the Beit HaMikdash represented spiritual, divine revelation within the world. That's what the Beit HaMikdash represented. He lived a spiritual life within a physical world. He lived a godly life within a mortal, finite world and space around him. He was able to live a different life while living the same life as all of us. And so when we talk about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, we're saying that the Beit HaMikdash wasn't destroyed in his world. What does it mean it wasn't destroyed? Yes, physically the structure wasn't there. There were no walls, there was no roof, there was no services within a Beit HaMikdash during Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's days. He wasn't privileged to see a physical structure, but he saw a spiritual structure. He saw the revelation of godliness in this world despite destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, because he lived on a different plane. He lived on a different playing field. And so he was able to see things in the world that others perhaps couldn't see. That's what it means. Lo necharav habayis klal. The Beit HaMikdash wasn't destroyed. Physically, it wasn't there. But spiritually, it was there. That was the world of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And I want to analyze this because, it's natural for all of us to say, wow, this sounds so Kabbalistic and it sounds so spiritual. And how's it possible? And it's otherworldly. And he's living, in days of old. You and I can't relate to this. And I think that if Torah's teaching us this, we can relate to this. If Torah's teaching us this message of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the lifestyle he led, there's something in it for you and I. I think so. And we're using the modern technology of today, on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We welcome all our listeners today. It's a great crowd here this morning. We got over 45 people tuning in on the combination of YouTube and Facebook. So it's fantastic to have you all here. And please stay with us through this because I want to unpack this topic and I want to relate it to our personal lives. So that was quote number one that we quoted about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that the temple wasn't destroyed in his days. Let me share with you another quote about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which is very famous and quoted everywhere. And I want to share that with you. It's from the Talmud Brachot. Talmud Brachot, page 8b and 9a. Let me share with you what the debate is. The debate there is, when can a person say the Shema for nighttime? Right? How late into the night or how early into the morning can we still say the Shema to fulfill the mitzvah of saying Shema at nighttime? And this is a debate in Gemara Brachot and Talmud Tractate Brachot, how late we can go. And the Gemara quotes, and it's so relevant to today, the Gemara quotes Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. In the name of his teacher, you got it, Rabbi Akiva. As we spoken about yesterday, Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000 students during this time period. And as like Ba'omer came, they stopped dying. It's one of the reasons we celebrate. And following that, he went to find 5 more students to rebuild with. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was one of them. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, in the name of his teacher, Rabbi Akiva, and he says that a person can read the Shema all the way, Shema of nighttime. Listen to this. He can read the Shema of nighttime all the way until sunrise. Netz Hachama. All the way until sunrise. You can read the Shema and you'll fulfill your obligation for the nighttime Shema. That's a big, big statement, because normally you would think that nighttime goes until midnight, or perhaps nighttime goes until dawn. But to suggest that nighttime goes all the way until Netzachama, Netz, which is sunrise, is a big suggestion of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's a big, brave statement that all the way until sunrise, I can say the Shema and I'll fulfill my obligation of nighttime. It's a powerful statement of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And the Gemara, the Talmud tells us that there was in fact a debate about this, and not everybody agreed to this. Not everybody agreed to that, because there was quite a statement of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai to say Shema all the way to sunrise. But the Talmud tells us a story. And there was once a group of young rabbinic students, that got shikar. They got drunk. They were so excited and celebrating the wedding of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. And so they were at the son of Rabbi Shua ben Levi's weddings, of his son's wedding. And they danced and they got shikar and they got excited. And they forgot to daven Kriyat Shema, to say Shema, Ma'ariv. They forgot to daven Ma'ariv. They forgot to say Shema because of the celebration of the wedding. And they didn't know what to do. So they came to Rabbi Shua ben Levi. They came to the father of the girl and they said, what should we do? Should we say the Shema now, early morning, before sunrise? Can we still chaparain? Can we still grab the opportunity of saying the Shema? And listen to the words that Rabbi Shua ben Levi says in the Talmud. He says, Kedaihu, Rabbi Shimon, lismach alav b'shas hatchak. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is worthy to rely on him in the time that you're stuck. Okay, b'shas hatchak, that's a key word. B'shas hatchak. At the time that you're stuck, you can rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, how do we understand those words? The simple explanation of those words is that, well, you were stuck. You should have done Shema earlier. And because you didn't do Shema earlier, and now you've got stuck, you were shikar, you were dancing at the wedding, and because you got stuck, because you didn't say Shema, and you're still before sunrise, you can rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai to say the Shema. Just because of exile, of persecution, of death, of anti-Semitism. That's called Shas HaTchak, as we've gone through history. When the world is going through difficult times of galut, of exile, of corona, of illness, of death, that's called Shas HaTchak. We're pushed to the core. We're going through difficult times. Says the Talmud. At those times of galut, of exile, we can rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He should be our inspiration during Shas HaTchak. Kedaihu, he is worthy to inspire us at the time of Shas HaTchak. Why? Because when it's a time of galut, a time of exile, when it's a time that people are going through difficult times, naturally all we see is black. All we see is gray. We don't want to see anything different to that. No one sees light when things are tough. No one sees positivity. That was the life. So says the Talmud, at a time of Shas HaTchak, at a time of difficulty, at exile, you know who you can rely on? You can rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Why do you rely on him? Based on what we said earlier. We rely on him because in his world, there was no such concept of negativity. In his world, there's no such concept of exile. In his world, there was no such concept of distraction. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was able to live on a completely different level. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was able to live some other life within this life. He was able to live a divine spiritual experience within the physical, finite, mortal experience. And so in his world of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, there wasn't tragedy, because tragedy looked like blessings. In his world, there wasn't destruction, because in his world, destruction looked like rebuilding. In his world, there wasn't exile, because in his world, exile was part of the redemption experience. Suddenly, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai teaches us about a new reality. And says the Talmud, if we could take the Talmud out of its original context, says the Talmud, if you want to be able to get out of your mud, if you want to get out of your darkness, your gray skies, your negativity, your anxiety, your depression, you know what you need to do? You need to live more like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. That's what you need to do. You need to live more like him. He was able to live another life, a different life, as we said, as we quoted from the students of the Alter Rebbe of Rabbi Shneur Zalman, of Rabbi Hillel Paritcher, who said in the world of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, there wasn't distraction. Yes, there was no temple there, obviously, but he lived on a level that he saw the divine spirit, the divine energy coming into the world long after the temple was destroyed. Nothing changed. Physically, it changed, but spiritually, nothing changed. And that's going to be an inspiration for us to be able to live this lifestyle where we go through challenges like Corona lockdown, but we're able to find the blessings. When things are tough, the economy, the health around the world is difficult. So what are you supposed to do? Okay, things are tough. We know that things are tough. So what are we supposed to do? Raise our hands into the air? Fall into despair? Fall into anxiety? Is that the solution? Or is the solution to hold on to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, B'shas Adchak, at the time of great difficulty, and say, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, you did it. Somehow you lived a life that was different to the lives of everyone around you. Somehow you remained positive while everyone else was crying and negative. Somehow you saw godliness in the world while everyone else saw destruction and exile. Let's learn from you. Let's find ways of living Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai's lifestyle, even in our world of today. I shared here a couple of days back the discussion as to what comes first. Does faith lead to healing, or does healing lead to faith? Generally speaking, healing leads to faith, meaning a person, heaven forbid, present company excluded obviously, heaven forbid, someone falls ill and he gets sick and it's not comfortable at all. And then they go through a healing process, whether it's medication or hospitalization or rehabilitation, whatever the process is. And the sick person, the ill person, goes through a healing process to become better, to become stronger. And then, please God, it all goes well and they recover. And what happens? Oh, we start davening and we start thanking Hashem and we're so grateful and we host a Sudat Hoda'ah, a meal of thanksgiving. Because why? Generally, healing leads to faith. So the more I get healed, the better I feel, the more of a believer I am. And the moment I'm not feeling so good, or the healing process is not going so well, what happens then? Then my emunah and my faith is affected too. But the truth is, says the Zohar, that the ideal way is actually the opposite. The ideal way is that faith should bring to healing. The more we believe, the more healing we have. The more we believe, the better we feel. The more connected we are to the divine, the more we're able to persevere through the challenges of life. I recently had a conversation with a good friend who started putting on tefillin more frequently during this time period. Something he wasn't doing so often, but now this lockdown period at home sort of motivated him to do something new, and he began to put on tefillin, and he still, please God, does, if not every day, most days of the week. And I asked him, and this is what I ask all my bar mitzvah boys as well, I asked him to look at the tefillin, the way he's wrapped up his tefillin. And what does it look like? You got straps on the one side of the box, and you got straps on the other side of the box. And the gentleman here in our class of today will be able to relate to this. You got straps on one side and straps on the other side. And I said, what does it look like? And the answer is, it looks like a tank with big wheels, and the box is the center, the generator, the engine of the tank. And I said, when we put on tefillin, we become like tanks. Nothing stands in our way. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are difficulties. Yes, there are anxiety and exile and poverty and starvation. But when I have that tefillin and I put on tefillin in the morning, I become like a tank. And that tank is able to ride over all sorts of obstacles and stones and rocks and desert plains, because nothing's going to stop me in my path. That's the message that the Zohar is saying. If we have emunah, if we have faith, then we're able to stand strong, and that brings to healing. Why? Because when you got faith, you don't see sickness as sickness. When you got faith, you see sickness as a journey. It's difficult, it's hard, for sure. But God has a journey in mind. God has a bigger picture in mind. When you got faith, you don't see galut, exile, as exile. You see galut as a process towards redemption. When you got faith, you don't see Corona lockdown as a devastation and tragedy that's going to bring to the downfall of the entire world and the economy in our country here in South Africa. But rather, you see lockdown as a process that God is doing to prepare the world for something, to prepare our country for something. It's got to be. There's no other explanation. You can either choose to fall into depression, or you can choose to be part of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's team. And says the Talmud, and I agree, I'd rather rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai at a time of tchak, at a time of difficulty, than to rely on others that are pessimistic and negative and sad and anxious and lost. What good does that do? I'd rather rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who teaches me to live another life within this life, who teaches me to see a temple, even if the temple is not there physically, still to see the temple. That's the message of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's life. And the truth is that that's how relevant this is to our world. But you may all say to me that that is impossible. It's impossible to live such a life. How is it possible to live such a life like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? He was a different person. Maybe he lived on a different plane, different level. It's not relevant and not shaykh. It's not possible for us to be able to live such a lifestyle. You may say that to me. So I want to share with you something I've always been motivated by. And recently I've started to tap into it again. And I'm sure many of you have read Viktor Frankl's book called Man's Search for Meaning. If you haven't read it yet, you have to read it, especially during this challenging time of lockdown. You must read the book, Viktor Frankl's book of Man's Search for Meaning, if you haven't read it yet. And ladies and gentlemen, it's unbelievable. Good morning, Charmaine. It's unbelievable to see how that lifestyle was led. A lifestyle was lived during the Holocaust exactly the same as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived his life during the Roman difficulty, during the Roman persecution. And when we speak about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's life being the life that we should rely on in Shas HaTchak, in times of difficulty, I think Viktor Frankl spells that out during his Shas HaTchak, during his times of difficulty. And let me share with you a couple of paragraphs that I found to be very, very relevant to this conversation. And just bear with me, because there's some powerful words here. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And there were always choices to make. Every day, every hour offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threaten to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you would become the plaything of circumstance, renouncing freedom and dignity to become molded into the form of the typical inmate. This is like reliving Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's message. There are people that fall into the plaything of circumstance. They fall into the plaything of circumstance, renouncing their freedom and dignity and saying, we've lost everything. It's a tragedy. It's economic poverty. There's no way out of this, and we are doomed, and South Africa is gone, and there's no way we're going to rebuild. And it's true. Galut looks like that. Exile looks like that. When the Romans destroyed Yerushalayim, it looked like that. When Corona lockdown forces us into our houses, it looks like that. No one's going to deny that. When you walk through the concentration camps and you see poverty and starvation and abuse and persecution, it looks like hell on earth. No one's going to debate that. Everyone's going to agree to that. But, says Viktor Frankl, some people gave us a sense of the truth of freedom, which is the attitude to act the way you want to act, despite despite the circumstances around you. And he writes, it was only a few people who walked through the camp comforting others. What do you think they were saying to them when they were comforting them? There were only a few people who managed to keep their choices their choice. Who managed to keep their choices their choice. Only a few people. Most people see dark and gloom. Most people see persecution and dchak. That was the word we used earlier. Dchak means suffering, darkness, anxiety, concern. Most people only see that. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught us to be able to see something different, to be able to see redemption through the exile, to be able to see reward through difficulty, to be able to see comfort despite the circumstances, to be able to see that my attitude and my choice is the bottom line, not to let circumstances to govern me or take away my personal dignity, but rather to allow that I should be able to remain strong and to be positive no matter what the world is saying. And that's what the Talmud is saying. Kedaihu Rabbi Shimon, that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is worthwhile, lismach olav, to rely on him and to follow in his ways, b'shas hatchak, at the time of challenges and difficulty. That's the message I wanted to share with you. As we get closer to Lag BaOmer tonight, going into tomorrow, it's a powerful time of the year. Please God, we should be able to be inspired by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, to live our lives like him on a different plane, even if it's above what everyone else is experiencing. Let others experience what they want to experience, but let us live a life that is strong, that is positive, that is healthy. And please God, we should be able to see it in a revealed manner, in a revealed state, already before Lag BaOmer. Welcome to Neil Herman. Thank you for joining us. If there's anyone else that would like to say hi and share your questions or your comments, we'd love to hear from you. It's been wonderful having such a large group here on Facebook and on YouTube. It's been wonderful having you all here. Thank you for joining us this morning. If there's any questions you'd like to, thank you. Bernice, appreciate your message. Thank you very much. I wish you all a wonderful time. And tonight we have a very exciting program lined up. 8 o'clock this evening on Zoom. 8 o'clock this evening. Thank you, Norman. 8 o'clock this evening, we have a very special program lined up for Lag BaOmer. I'm going to share now the link to sign up. So here we go. If you'd like to join our Zoom call tonight, just sign up on this link. Those of you that are on our WhatsApp groups, you won't need to sign up because you'll get the login details later. Thank you, Helen Feinstein, for your comments. If you'd like to join our Lag BaOmer, it's called Mysticism and Magic. Hold the faith. That's right, Shirley Feldman, exactly. So here's a link. I've shared the link. I've shared the link on Facebook and on YouTube. If you'd like to join us this evening, just go to that link, put your name and your details in, and you'll get the Zoom details sent to you. Otherwise, if you're on the Sidlam Shul Corona Care WhatsApp groups, you'll be seeing the Zoom details there a bit later. I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Take care, keep safe, and we look forward to connecting again tomorrow morning, same place, same time. All the best and have a wonderful day ahead. You have to cough while I'm trying to do